So I meet people in my life that I consider to be mavericks. And what I mean by that is we do work in all kinds of communities across the board. We see people that identify opportunities, maybe that haven't been done in a town before, entered that town, execute, and then people look back and say, I wish I would have done that deal. It's happened over and over, and at the time, people locally might say, well, that's crazy, we've never seen a product like that before, and I'm standing with somebody who's actually done that in front of a project that's executed on, and I want to know, what was your vision for this project? Like, I know the building itself is beautiful, but there's more to it than just the building itself, right?
Absolutely. Well, it all started with a partner of mine who was involved in the community. He owns a business here. And talking to him about the community, it turned out to be a growing community. It's a very popular community. It's very well managed. And they were growing, and then they needed some development. They identified some of the community needs, and we were fortunate enough to be quite interested at the time, and we learned about the opportunity because of this growth. And at the time there was a 4-acre parcel, an old abandoned school, that was declared surplus from the school board.
Okay.
And we saw the opportunity. I said, maybe this is the time for us to get in there and seize that opportunity and start to do what we see as a vision for Lucan. Having the institutional construction background allows us to work with professional engineers, architects, and consultants. So when we spend time on planning, we take our time, we make sure that our vision is going to materialize on time, on budget, and we look at every problem that we may face ahead of time so we can plan for it properly. Construction, especially when you're talking about, mid-rise, this is a Part 3 building, which falls in the same classification as high-rises.
Yep.
So rules and regulations when it comes to executing construction of this size is different than your typical small residential Part 9 type buildings. So it takes a team, it takes coordination to make sure that the quality of the building is up to the level that we wanted it to be, and the execution of it is as professional as we want it to be. So, but again, I wanted to tell you a little bit about something to do with Lucan that relates to this growing community. Back in 2013, just before London hit that growth wave and the increase in the real estate prices, homes here in Lucan, Ontario were selling above asking price 2 or 3 years before
I remember
London actually did that.
There was no inventory.
There was no inventory. And there was demand, and then there was not enough supply. So the numbers have been quite interesting for the past 6 or 7 years now, and it's until today, prices are going up, and there's more demand than there is supply.
The climate is there, definitely, and you kind of touched on the next part that I want to speak on, and that's the execution and the quality. One of my favorite things about our first couple of meetings was your attention to detail. Let's go inside the building and take a look at what you actually built.
Sounds good.
So you're saying there's an integrated security system for the people that live here? How does that actually work?
Yeah, so not only that people have access to see the parking and all the surroundings of the building on their phone, but also if there's a visitor that is coming in to enter, whether they're here physically or they're not even at the building.
Okay.
A visitor will come in, look at the intercom, find the person that he's trying to visit, and then they can just press the call button, and then I'm using this demo. So this person may be at the building or could be in Florida for what it matters. The phone will ring, they can answer. They can also probably see also the person at and then they can unlock the building from their phone.
And that opens the door. Look at that. Amazing. Absolutely. So the site execution was phenomenal. The exterior of the building, construction quality was there. The units are great. the last thing that sometimes people don't think about is, from an efficiency standpoint, a lot can go wrong depending on how you build your building. We were talking earlier about baseboard heaters and every single individual units, or furnaces in every single individual units. One thing you showed me that was interesting was you did something a little bit different here. Can you explain or elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, we have a two-pipe system, heating system, that is running throughout the building.
Okay.
That basically uses natural gas as the base heat source. So we have a dry cooler on the roof. We have a twin boiler system in the mechanical room. And then that heating loop runs through the building. Each unit has a two-pipe system that goes into it, and a fan coil that distributes whether it's heat or cool throughout the unit. And the nice thing about it is that this two-pipe system is well insulated, so it maintains the building heating loop temperature without any heat loss. So not only that you're using natural gas as opposed to electricity for heating, for example, it's very economical, but also this two-pipe heating loop is very efficient because of the level of insulation that it has. So whether you're rejecting heat into the loop or extracting heat out of the loop, it's very well balanced.
And not a ton of moving parts. Natural gas, like you said, built for longevity. Yeah. So it's not like you built it that in 10 years you're gonna have to redo everything. You really built this thing to last.
Absolutely.
So from a design perspective, you were very conscious that people were leaving homes, understanding they didn't want the upkeep that a lot of people have to deal with. They're working, they have families, they don't want to spend their whole life cutting grass or moving snow. But these units are big. The windows are massive, tons of natural light. And you were saying storage, the in laundry. So you basically want to give them a house without all the additional hassle, right?
That is very correct. We wanted to make sure that people who moved in here, they had all of what they need within their suite. So ensuite laundry, storage, and rooms that will take on their furniture nicely. And even one of the units that we are looking at, this particular one has a den area where they can set it up for like a small office.
I was going to say that's perfect. Office, studio, music, whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah, and the biggest thing that we wanted to do was to get as large a window in the living area and the remaining rooms as well that we could possibly get. Lots of light, and it makes a huge difference. You don't even need the lights to be turned on to feel, that the place is well lit.
First thing I said when I walked in here, I was like, oh wow, look at that window, because I know what an effect it actually makes. So kudos to you guys on the execution. I guess the last piece of the conversation that I wanted to cover with you was, so you had this vision of this beautiful Hockeytown, Canada, Lucan, what you could do there, what it needed. You went through, designed it. You took a lot of attention to detail and how you were going to build it. You thought about long-term construction, which you have a background in, which is great. How did the actual execution go? So when you actually launched the project, the sales, and you said we're standing in a unit that's about to close, what did that whole process look like for you?
So what we did is, obviously you can tell that, even though you had the vision, you had the theory behind it, your bank would want to see some proof, show us the proof. So we had 60% of the units sold prior to starting this construction. Wow. For us, we were thinking that, how will people in a small community think of us selling units before any shovel was put in the ground. And it's not something that people are used to. Maybe people in Toronto are used to buying on paper more and so on. But the community knew of the project because, as I said, this is a phase 3 of a 3-stage. So people knew that these were coming all along. What happened was we found 2 types of clientele. The first type is people who are looking to move in and downsize. The other type are people that wanting to, knowing first of all the fact that there is a shortage of rental here, they wanted to buy these units up to offer them as an investment, like as a rental.
Okay.
So what happened was the people who bought in to move in, as I said earlier, there are people that are working professionals, finding Lucan to be the right place to live, or the other type which bought it to offer it up for rent, they actually had leases in place during construction. So they had their renters lined up from day one. So they received the key for the unit, and the same day they handed it over. So from day one, the units were occupied. That's a little wrong. The numbers were a little better than we thought it was.
Okay.
So
better that than the other way, right?
absolutely. Yeah. We would always try and make sure that the numbers worked, even on the conservative calculations. But now that it has been completed, we feel much better about next building and then the one after that as well.
Good for you. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for taking us through the building, and I'm really excited that you got to tell that story because you know it intimately, and looking forward to working on the next one with you as well.
Thank you.
Awesome.